the Oculus Quest 3, or also known as the Meta Quest 3. I want to do a video about me just like talking about the device, what I kind of think about it, and where I really see the future of virtual reality, mixed reality, and augmented reality are really going. This isn't something that I'm normally used to doing, so like just right off the bat, I'm not your typical review channel. I'm not going to go into all the specifics about the device. I'm not super critical when it comes down to like all of the specifications of it. I'm just basing off of my experience and what I enjoy about it and basically comparing it to the other headsets that I use in my collection. So for many of you guys, if you've been around the channel for a while, you know that one of my favorite headsets that I've used up until this point has been the Oculus Rift S. I have literally used that thing since about 2019. It's been a lot of years that I've used this little monster. I still have it sitting right over here. This is the OG freaking headset right here. I got the Apple sticker sitting on this bad boy, and I have absolutely loved this thing. Like, no joke, it has been my bread and butter, and I have used it for like almost all of my recordings in terms of like all my PC VR gameplay. But as of recently, this is something that has changed my point of view. And it's not because I'm sponsored by anything. It's not because of this, that, or the other. It's just the fact that I've been waiting for a device that can do exactly what I need it to do in terms of recording the best VR gameplay I possibly can. So let's take this way back to 2019 and 2020. Basically, a lot of people were like going and moving over to like the newest devices, you know, rocking out the Valve Index when that dropped, and you name it. And for the most part, I just stuck with the Rift S because it was my first ever like VR headset. And it allows you to really zoom out your gameplays. I know some of you guys have been asking me a lot on how I actually do that, and that's been thankfully due to the fact that I stayed on the Oculus Rift S. It's a monster of a headset, and it allows recording settings to be changed with a debug tool. I know that's not gonna make a lot of sense to any of you guys, but if you're content creators, you probably know what I'm talking about. This device just allowed me to really zoom out gameplays and make it a lot more easy to watch. It's just one of those small things that, you know, I wanted to go the extra mile to do, like sacrificing the luxury of playing on a Valve Index because I wanted the content to be the best it could. And that's just something that, you know, I always strive to do each and every single day. I know there's plenty of other like fantastic content creators that are probably better than me in this space, but something that I still hold true to myself is, you know, making the content, you know, as watchable as possible. Because, you know, there's a lot of VR gameplays that just have that really small window, and it's impossibly hard to see what's going on and really understand what the gameplay is. But, you know, with PC VR gameplay and the Rift S, that's been something that allowed me to, you know, record a lot of those super zoomed out videos and make it super easy to watch and digest as a new viewer. But anyways, getting off the Rift S, I want to talk about the Quest 3. And the reason why I like this significantly more than the Quest 2. So let's take it back to when I actually bought my Quest 2. So by no means is it like a bad headset. I actually recommend the Quest 2 like over a lot of other VR headsets because it's a great entry-level price. It allows you standalone gameplay. It's got a decent battery life, and you can connect it to a PC if you feel like it. You can be wired or wireless. So like, it's a no-brainer to me for like $300 to go and pick up a VR headset to go and just get into VR and try it. Like, it's a perfect entry-level headset. I say that to everyone. But in terms of like actual content creation and trying standalone gameplay and like really focusing on just that aspect, this thing is a freaking monster. Okay, and I'm not saying that lightly, dude. In my opinion, I feel like the Quest 3 is like the nice mix between the Quest Pro and the Quest 2. So like the Quest Pro was like $1,500 when I bought that thing, and yeah, it's $1,500. So take that as you will. And it was a decent headset, but one of the things I did not like about it is the fact it didn't have this stinking strap, okay? It is so impossibly hard to grab this thing. It's so awkward and uncomfortable, and I did not like it. Not having that Halo strap, I tell everyone this. If you're in VR, you need to have this Halo strap, man. It is just, it's a need. I don't know why, but it's so good. I love it. It just feels a lot more comfortable in the head. But speaking of comfortability, I will say the Quest 3 is like, it's decent. Like, it's not the best by any means. I notice I get kind of sore on my ears and a few other spots, like kind of tension on my forehead here and there, depending. And, you know, that's just, it might just be me. It's hard to say, but I mean, it's probably majorly the strap. I'm going to be straight up honest. That's probably the worst part about the entire thing. But overall, this thing's still a really badass headset. Like, the sound is really freaking good, like, loud-wise. Like, I don't think the quality's, like, amazing by any means, but it's good. It works for what it is. And the thing I really want to compliment, especially on this device, is the pass-through. I don't know if anyone's, like, really gone into detail about how good the pass-through and augmented reality is on this thing. But, oh my goodness, man. The Quest 3... it kicks, bro. Like, I went outdoors and used this thing the first day that I got it. I went and took it to a local park to go play some Sword Art Online. And it surprised me. I couldn't believe the clarity of the pass-through lenses. Like, compared to the Quest Pro, like, the Quest Pro was good. Like, by no means was it a bad pass-through. It just wasn't the best. But the Quest 3, it really impressed me. And now I am, like, totally on board with doing like VR, AR, and mixed reality content. And that's something I never really saw myself doing years ago. Like, I always thought, like, you know, if I want to play virtual reality, I want to be in that world. You know, I don't want to be, you know, like, seeing what's around me that I see every day. You know what I mean? But strangely enough, when I tried that Sword Art Online, like, VR for the first time, it blew my mind, dude. Being able to go and run around the park with, like, no guardian and having these augmented reality, like characters running after me and having sword fights using my hand tracking. It was unbelievable. It was magical. It was like the first time I ever played VR in a sense. Like, it brought me back to like my first ever time being thrown into a virtual world. Except this time, it was a blend of both realities. And, you know, the Quest 2, as you guys know, like, the pass-through was black and white, so it wasn't the greatest. The Quest Pro was a bit grainy, but it worked. It was a good-looking, you know, full-color pass-through. But the Quest 3 was a huge improvement. And if this is something that you guys are looking for in terms of, like, AR and MR, there's a ton of potential with this bad boy. And we're just at the beginning of this thing. Like, we're just getting started with this Quest 3. Like, there's going to be so many updates that probably go and help polish this device for the future. And, like, this is just where tech is right now. We're in 2023 and we have the opportunity to use a $600 device that is capable of running augmented reality and mixed reality applications in real time with hand tracking. It's freaking crazy, dude. And, like, I'm not going to praise everything about it. There's obviously the flaws. You know, like I said, the comfortability of the headset, sound design isn't the greatest, and a few other things like that. But for what it is, I love this thing. Like, I'm probably going to use the Quest 3 for a lot of my PC VR gameplay now. Like, I mean, I've been using the Rift S for years, and it just, I mean, it wasn't the greatest device by any means, but it grew on me. Like, I literally have been using this since 2019, but I generally believe that the Quest 3 might be the very thing that kind of swaps me over and converts me to doing more like PC VR and standalone content, especially using this device. The crazy thing is, even with all the attachments that I have for like the Quest 2, it's not my favorite headset. You could talk to anyone that I've met in person, like especially content creators wise. Like, if you talk to any of them, they can vouch. I was not a Quest 2 fanboy. I didn't get the hype. It was a cool device for like what it did, but like for me, it didn't make sense for me to convert. You know, there just wasn't enough like horsepower in the device for me to go and do standalone content like fully. You know, like it's a very good headset for what it is, but it just didn't make sense to me to go and drop like the Rift S to go to a mobile chipset headset that didn't necessarily run the best when I tried to record it. But now, going over to the Quest 3, I'm having very little to no problems with recording standalone gameplay, which is very impressive. I was not thinking the jump between like the Snapdragon like CPUs that are inside of this thing. I think that's the right lingo, right? I hope I'm not botching that. But the new Snapdragons that they got for the chipsets, it runs so freaking solid. Like, even playing Blade and Sorcery Nomad, like I did test on that with the Quest 2, and my frame rate was just not the greatest when I went to go do recordings with that. But I just did a recent video, like literally yesterday, recording some Blade and Sorcery on this Quest 3. And it was killer, dude. And that was with recording. I can't imagine how buttery smooth it'd be even without it. You know what I mean? Like, that blows my mind. Like, if you're really looking for just an optimized experience of something that runs well for standalone content, the Quest 3 is up there. But if you're just looking to get into VR and, like, get your feet settled and just, like, kind of figure out the world and see if you actually enjoy VR for what it is, I definitely recommend the Quest 2. I mean, the Quest 2 is just a fantastic entry-level headset. And I don't mean that in any bad way, shape, or form. Like, I mean that in the best way possible. I mean, it's literally a $300 headset that you can connect to a computer, you can play standalone, and it runs pretty well for what it is. You know, for 300 bucks, you know, you get to dip your toes in and see if you like VR. And then if you do like it, eventually you can go and upgrade and get a Valve Index or a Quest 3 or whatever you decide that you want to go and get. I mean, it's all a preference in this genre. You know, like, I don't know if there's really a best headset out there. Like, they all have their perks. You know, like for me, you know, recording wise is my priority because I want to prioritize the content to push as much VR gameplay as possible and show the potential of the games and show like where we're at in terms of like graphic fidelity and just all sorts of things on the gaming side. Not necessarily the tech, but the gaming side. Like, that's important to me. And that's why the Rift S has been my go-to for so long. Because when it came down to recording with this bad boy, one of my biggest problems that I had with this Quest 2 was the connection with the S cable or C cable, USB-C, is that right? I think it's USB-C. One of my biggest issues with this USB-C was the fact that it would disconnect when I was playing PC VR. Even like a slight wiggle would cause like the device to basically completely disconnect and lose all tracking and basically screw up your entire gameplay. So that risk wasn't worth it for me. Meanwhile, I used the same cable that I used with the Quest 2 on this Quest 3, and I had zero issues. None. Like, no disconnects, none of that, and I was moving my head quite a lot, like moving around quite a bit, and there was no disconnects. And that's something I had a lot with the Quest 2 with PC VR. I mean, granted, you can go play wireless, but I just feel like the wireless latency just isn't for me. I need to be connected. And this guy right here has been treating me incredibly well. But the real question that I think a lot of you guys are probably asking is if the Quest 3 is worth it. In my opinion, when it comes down to that question, is it depends on what you're looking for. All right, so if you already have the Quest 2 and you're looking for just a little bit more firepower for your gameplay, like, I definitely suggest it. I mean, that $600 or $500 price tag, I think is quite fair for what this tech actually provides. Like the clarity of the lenses, you know, the new pass-through cameras, the mixed reality experiences, you name it, man. And even the graphics upgrades for some of the games, like, that's super impressive. So I definitely think the price tag is justified. My only, like, thing that I would say is, like, if you're like a Guerrilla Tag creator, or if you do other games that don't require a lot of resources, but you record standalone gameplay, if the Quest 2 is working, like, why fix something that isn't broken? You know what I mean? Like, keep using what you got. If it works, that's great. Like, why change it? You know, like, that's kind of my mentality, is like, upgrade if you genuinely believe you need it. You know, and like, that's how I was with the Rift S. I didn't need to upgrade my headset, so I was just okay with using it for like 4 years. I mean, you can probably tell that my Rift S got its time, dude. This thing is wore down, and I cannot believe it's lasted as long as it has. Like, it impresses me how well that thing has taken a beating and is still around, dude. It's crazy, man. But for some reason, this just reminded me of something I have not discussed in this video, and what that is the controllers for the Quest 3. These are by far some of the most comfortable controllers I have ever used in VR. They're light, they're nice. On top of that, like, they're actually battery powered. That's one thing that I prefer way over any other VR controllers, is having batteries. Because if I need to go and charge up my controllers in the middle of a session when I'm using like the Valve Index, for instance, it completely kills the experience. I have to go and charge my controllers and wait to play. But if my battery runs out on these bad boys, I just have to go and like pop a little tactical reload, pop another battery in there, and I'm good to go. It's freaking awesome, dude. So I really like the controllers, and plus, they just look sleek. Like, they're really good looking controllers, and I really like the feeling of them. It's just comfortable. Like, I feel like that grab button on the side is just, it's a necessity for me. Especially just for like grabbing in VR. It just feels good. Especially for like VR combat when you're doing like sword fighting games and all sorts of things like that. And I know a lot of you guys are probably asking how the tracking is on these controllers. And I just have to say, they are very, very good. I was not expecting them to be that great, and one of the biggest tests that I used them with was outdoors. With the Quest 2, when I tried to do outdoor content, there was so much drift, there was so much like tracking issues. Half the time the headset would just lose tracking because it couldn't be out in the sun, because you're not supposed to be outside. But anyways, I just couldn't really use the Quest 2 outside. Then when I used the Quest 3 was pretty dang good headset-wise outdoors, but the controller sucked. Like, I'm not kidding you, these controllers, I don't know why. People were hyping these bad boys up. They were like, these are the greatest controllers ever. They got cameras that can track them anywhere. Bah! And it just did not work for me, dude. Anytime I played a VR shooter, the best way I can explain this is I would go and hold up my guns like this, right? And anyone with a VR controller typically does this. I've never had problems with drifting on the Quest 2 like this. But with the Quest Pro controllers that are supposed to know exactly where this is at, they just go whoop, 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 all the freaking time, dude. Every time I held them up close. And I'm like, this thing has cameras to know where it's at. I didn't like these controllers. I thought they were booty. They also don't have batteries. That's probably another reason why I don't like them. And also another thing, these did not work great outdoors. I'm not saying that they're meant to. I mean, that's not what Meta's purpose is for, these headsets. It's not meant to be used outdoors. But for me, it is an important factor because I want to do more augmented reality content and feature that, as a stress test in a sense and see how well it performs in an outdoor environment. Because I personally believe, especially with augmented reality and mixed reality, it's best experienced outdoors. Obviously, do it at your own risk. I don't want you guys to go outdoors and break your headsets because you get sun on your lenses. Like, you got to be careful about what you do. But I just generally believe for like the showcasing experience of where augmented reality is, like the best way to showcase it is with outdoor content because the freedom of being anywhere, dude. Like, I want to go to like other really cool locations and just record augmented reality now. Like, I have so many ideas in the pipeline, like you guys don't even understand. And something that really sucked with the Quest Pro was the fact that those controllers, they did not track well outside. I assume with those cameras, they would have been amazing, but they weren't the greatest. But strangely enough, the hand tracking was phenomenal. Like going and playing high-paced, like hand tracking games outdoors with that Quest 3, it delivered. It did incredibly well for what it was. It just didn't work well with the controllers. But then came along the Quest 3. And I figured the same thing was going to be with this, like the controllers would suck outdoors, just like it was on the Quest 2 and the Quest Pro. But for this device, it was the complete opposite. The hand tracking wasn't as good outdoors, but the controllers kicked butt. They were super good. Like, I'm not kidding you, dude. I prioritize now with my outdoor VR content, or augmented reality content rather, I prefer to use these controllers because how well they seriously track. They are phenomenal. I was not expecting them to be as good as they are, especially for the price range you get the Quest 3. It's a bomber headset. I mean, that's just judging off of my own experience. And I'm not a huge logistics guy, and I'm not all about the statistics and blah, 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 blah. I'm not going to go and, talk about all that stuff. You got your channels to go and visit for that. Like, I'm not a review channel. I'm just someone who really thoroughly enjoys VR and wants to provide the best quality content I possibly can to showcase my experiences. And that's been my intent since day one. Like, I just love the genre. And ever since I just jumped in that headset for the first time, it was love at first sight, man. And I will never forget, like, the joy that VR brings me. And now I get to relive that with augmented reality and mixed reality. So, anyways, before I go on too far of a tangent, let's go and close this video off. Do I believe that the Quest 3, right here, focus, beautiful. Do I believe that the Quest 3 is worth the purchase? I would say yes. For my case of recording, for my case of doing pass-through, for my case of doing augmented reality, mixed reality, all sorts of those things, if that is something that you are into and you really want to go and follow that, I think this device is going to be right down your alley. Do I believe if you're already a Quest 2 owner and you play games like Gorilla Tag and other games that are pretty optimized on the Quest 2 and you're comfortable with that, do I believe it's worth upgrading in that stance? No. I think you should honestly just stay with the Quest 2. You're not going to see that crazy jump in that quality. Like, I don't think Gorilla Tag is going to get a graphical update for the Quest 3. So, like, honestly, a lot of Quest 2 owners, I think you're going to be comfortable with what you already have. But if you're a content creator or you're looking to do more standalone type of content and push the limits of what standalone can do, the Quest 3 is definitely a fantastic option to go and check out. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to sit down, kind of talk with y'all, and just be real. Like, I'm not here to go and, promote this and try to go and boost sales on Meta, that's not my job. I mean, I'm with the Meta program, but I'm not going to change the type of content I make just because I'm included on there. I want to be as honest and transparent when it comes down to things like this, because this is a very important purchase. Like $500 isn't light. And I want to make sure that people who are in the VR field or are looking to get into there, that they're generally thinking about these things before they go and jump on board the hype wagon. You know, like, obviously, I believe that this headset deserves the hype. It is incredible. And the tech is only continuing to grow, and I'm so excited to see where it goes. But like I said, it just depends on where you're at in the VR spectrum. Like, if you're just a first timer, I definitely recommend that Quest 2. It's a perfect entry-level headset, and you're gonna get what you expect out of it. It's great. But for those people that are just looking for a little bit more edge and are just looking for the AR and MR experience, you're gonna get it in this headset. And I am pleasantly pleased. Can I even say that? Is that right? Pleasantly pleased? Whatever. Anyways, I am very happy with how the Quest 3 has been treating me so far. And I love the design, like way over the Quest Pro. Some people say they like the Quest Pro, like the sleek black and stuff, but there's just something like that pops so well about the Quest 3. Like, it just looks good. Like this in a thumbnail, it just looks good, man. I love it. I love how sleek it is and how slim it is. It's just, it's sexy. It's a sexy headset. I dig it. So this was the Quest 3, and that is my opinion on this beautiful device. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm not saying other people are wrong. I'm not here to review the product. This is just my personal experience and what I believe with the Quest 3. I'm probably actually going to go and buy extras of these just to have backup headsets because how much I like it. I already have 2 Rift S's, and now I'm probably going to get like 2 or 3 freaking Quest 3s just so I have backups and for traveling and whatever else. Like, I genuinely like the device. So I'm strongly in support of this. I know some people might be on the edge about it, but it just depends on what you think about it. I strongly suggest going and checking out some other VR YouTubers and seeing what they say and how they feel about it. And like some of the super tech savvy ones, like, you know, Virtual Reality Oasis or Thrill Seeker, you name it, dude. And even just some of like the wildcard YouTubers, like some people that I may not be mentioning on that list, you know, like feel free to go and check them out and just hear them out. Because, you know, there's definitely different opinions upon the board and what people like generally feel about the device and all sorts of things. Like, obviously, I've said a lot of good things about it, but that's because I generally like the device, and I'm going to be a little bit more inclined to liking to say good things about it because I enjoy it, and I plan on doing a lot more content using the Quest 3. So that's just where I'm at. I don't know what you guys feel about it, but be sure to let me know by dropping a comment down in the comment section below. But yeah, other than that, guys, it'd be it from me. Hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, keep it toasty, my friends. Laters!
I got some shells for you, boy!
Oh, it's in his eye!
Oh, I fixed it! I would have died!
Well, right here.
Armageddon! Yeah! Why in the heck do you not have clothes on? You took my banana, and now you must suffer the consequences!